ये है इमर्जिंग डायरेक्शन इन ग्लोबल एजुकेशन, जिसे एच के नाम से भी जाना जाता है। हाल ही में अपने प्रोग्राम एच 2010 का आयोजन किया, जिसमें और यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ साथ सिक्किम मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी ने भी अपना प्रोग्राम आयोजित किया हुआ था। इसमें अपार इंडिया कॉलेज के चेयरमैन मिस्टर R.K. जैन, सिक्किम मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी के MD आनंद सुदर्शन, ग्लोबल हेड तिमैया, साथ साथ कपिल सिब्बल ने भी एच 2010 में आकर इस समारोह को संबोधित किया। कपिल सिब्बल ने इस समारोह में आकर शिक्षा के ऊपर स्पीच दी, जो कि अपने आप में काबिले तारीफ थी।
To the 21st century, by 2050, by all estimations, the number of people living on planet Earth will be anything between 8.9 billion to 9.2 billion people. And we're at the moment 6.2. As it is, if everybody on planet Earth, if every human being on planet Earth were to get 2 meals a day, there'd not be enough food for all of us to share. We survive because more than half the population don't have 2 meals a day. And if this population increases to 8.9 billion, I can't imagine how we will deal with that situation unless we move forward together globally. So when I think in terms of a globalized world, I don't think in terms of silos. I think in terms of real collaborations in the globalized world in all activities of human endeavor. Globally, we are all trying to actually move in that direction, but unfortunately, we are bound by territorial boundaries. The emergence of nationalism with territorial boundaries, which was necessary in the context of building nationalities at one point in time, is not relevant today in a globalized world. And so we are actually trying to break away from the past, break away from territorial boundaries, and merge ourselves in a future which is borderless. And so there is this movement of bringing down tariffs, this whole movement of WTO, of trying to free trade, trying to enter into FTAs, free trade agreements, if you can't get a global agreement on trade, then get into bilateral agreements for free trade. This is to actually move towards a borderless world. It's not easy, but that's where we are going. And that's going to take some time before we move in that direction, because it's easier to move knowledge in a borderless world. It's more difficult to move men. It's more difficult to move goods, but it's easier to move knowledge. And so I come back to the issue that we are truly living, and at least we are in the midst of a borderless world in the era of knowledge. Because we don't need any territorial boundaries, and there is no impediment. Once you are in the internet and you're hooked on to sourcing knowledge from anywhere, you don't bother about whether you're an American or an Indian. You believe you can actually access knowledge from anywhere in the world. And so it gives us an enormous opportunity. Never before in the history of civilization have we had this opportunity. And so when we talk about issues relating to education, and I come to your topic of catalyzing change, you must think globally and not territorially. I don't think that I can solve the problems of tomorrow by reforming the education structure from within, just in India. And I don't think I can do it alone. And I don't think in the United States of America you can solve the problems of the United States of America, because they are inextricably linked with global issues. By reforming the process at home in the United States of America without realizing that you are dealing with a global issue. If you're going to, I'll give you a simple example. If you're going to develop a workforce, you have to think of demographics. The Premier of Quebec came to me the other day and he said, we've changed our laws in Quebec, because now we say that anybody coming from anywhere in the world who gets a postgraduate degree in Quebec is entitled immediately to Quebec citizenship. Interesting. Why would Quebec do that? The answer is simple. Canada has an aging population, and they need workforce, and they don't have any young people. So the best way is to incentivize others to come into the country, offer them citizenship immediately after post-graduation, and that's how they wish to build that workforce. If you look at Germany in 2050, today its population is 82 million. In 2050, it will be 60 million. And most of that 60 million will be aged. Where will Germany get its workforce from? I say this to you because we are in a global conference. And I say this to you, that if I, an Indian, don't look at the needs of Germany by 2050, and if Germany doesn't look at India as the place where that workforce will be provided for the German nation or partly, then I don't think that we are actually seizing the opportunity that stares us in the face in the 21st century. Because if Germany wants to reform its education structure without realizing that there's going to be a hiatus in years to come, it will not be addressing its own issues. And indeed, these are global issues. These are not issues relating to one nation or another. Where will the African continent be? What happens to food security in India? And if half the population is starved, what impact does it have on the rest of the world? And the solutions are going to come through education. The solutions are not going to come through trade. The solutions are not going to come through movement of men. And when people say to me, why don't more Indians come to the United States? I retort and I say, why shouldn't the United States come to India? People a year, students, not all of them go to universities. You have it all in the United States of America. In the year 2009, 75,000 engineers who had entered courses of engineering in American universities. America needs more than 75,000 engineers. We in India have about over 700,000. Engineers who have, or people, young students who have gone for engineering. And the number in China is even more. So you need engineers. We need, in fact, to develop the skills of those to whom we impart degrees in India. So there is a common objective right there in front of you. The kind of skills you need in the service sector and the American economy are qualitatively different from the kind of skills you need for servicing the economy in India. So therefore, the nature of the skills that are to be imparted or required is qualitatively different. So if you were to, in fact, set up an engineering school in India, and this is just hypothetical, none of these bills have been passed yet, but if you were to set up an engineering school in India, you would actually cater to your own economy because you would be able to access a lot of very high quality engineers from here who would then serve at the higher end of your economy in the service sector and leave a lot of engineers in India to be absorbed in the Indian economy, and it's a win-win for both. And I think that's the way we need to catalyze education, and that's really the topic that you're going to address yourselves to today. How do you catalyze that change? Because that change is a global change. If you want a solution to a product with reference to, say, let's talk of global warming. If you want a solution as to what is the kind of building material that will be required in the 21st century when you build houses, perhaps not steel, perhaps not cement, not the brick and mortar solutions that you get, but advanced materials. And advanced materials which are cheap. You have 1 billion people to serve in this country, 600,000 of whom actually can't afford a house which costs more than a couple of lakhs of rupees. So if you were to find a solution which impacts global warming in a substantial way, and you do research in advanced materials with a market of 1 billion people and many more in the rest of the world, but most of the world is poor, then actually you are, through education, creating a market opportunity. Now, in the United States of America, that's really not an issue, because most of you have built your houses. But we are at the threshold of building millions and millions of houses. And we need new technologies to be able to do that, and those technologies have to be accessible and affordable. And that access and affordability will only come when you actually invest in research in a country of India, like India, which has a low-cost economy and a high-quality human resource base. And if you're able to do that, then you actually create intellectual property, find solutions for the global economy, and combat global warming without necessarily having to set up a global fund to serve the developing world. The point that I'm making is that education, through global collaboration, can, for the 21st century, provide the solutions for the world. And therefore, the one area that needs global collaboration more than anything else is in the area of education. And that's when I come to the issue about the reform process in India. But what we need to do is to create a structure in India, within the education sector, that allows this to happen, an environment that allows this to happen. At the moment, nobody wants to come here because there is no environment, there is no law in place for that to happen. And for that to happen, we need to give freedom to the university system, freedom to our colleges, autonomy to our universities, the ability to enter into collaborations without government control, the ability for education entrepreneurs to find solutions in situ where they are located, the ability to look at the local environment to be able to find solutions that are tailor-made for the problems of the local environment. And that's where we are moving. Sab rightly said in the beginning, the time to talk is over. It's time to act. And I have to tell you, Sam, we acted. We passed the Right to Education Bill within 1 month of our coming to office. We've cleared the 3 most important bills in the group of ministers, which is the Malpractices Bill, cleared. Education Tribunals Bill, cleared. Accreditation Authority Bill, cleared within 8 months of our government coming to power. Foreign Education Bill, Education Providers Bill, ready to go to the Cabinet any day. All the discussions are over. And the National Council for Higher Education, at the moment in discussion, but will be settled by the end of March. And hopefully, if we are able to arrive at a consensus, will be introduced in Parliament as soon as possible. And that's part of the presidential address. Foreign Education Providers Bill also is part of the presidential address. So we are acting. The problem, of course, part of the problem is that in a federal structure, you have to take everybody along with you. And unless we hold some modicum of discussions, we can't move forward. So I think in the shortest possible time, we have moved, and a lot of people say with undue haste.